In ancient times, cats were worshipped as gods. They have not forgotten this. Cats have been a staple in history. They've been in fairy tales, mythology, and folklore for centuries now. Whether they're vengeful gods, companions to royalty, or travelers, they've had notable roles in history. In ancient Egypt, cats were so revered that killing one was punishable by death. Cats that belonged to the royal families were dressed in jewels and were allowed to eat from their human companions' plates. Kind of like today, now that we think about it. Now, are you ready to find out more about cat gods and mythology? Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to Furry Feline Facts, a perfect catalog of cat stats. In today's video, we're going to understand the true origins of cat worship and why they still feel like gods. This is Top 10 Cat Gods and Mythology. If you're not already a follower of Furry Feline Facts, meow is the time to click the subscribe and notification bell. If you are, give yourself a round of applause. Okay, enough kidding around. It's meow or never. Number 10. Sekhmet. The Egyptian goddess of war and protector of the ancient pharaohs, the lesser-known Egyptian goddess Sekhmet is kicking off our list. Sekhmet was the stuff of legends. Literally, she was usually seen riding with the sun god through the sky. Her role? Even more unbelievable that you believe. Her divine responsibility was creating the fire of Ra, the sun's eye, and, vanquish all his enemies. But don't let Sekhmet's appearance as a lioness or as a woman with the head of a lion scare you off. Sekhmet was anointed with medicine and healing. So when ancient Egyptians needed healing or were looking to solve a problem in their lives, they would turn to Sekhmet and beg for her wisdom with food and drink offerings, incense burning, and playing music. Number 9. Dawson. Egypt wasn't the only culture that realized the majestic abilities of a cat. India also had a cat goddess, and it appeared in Hinduism. Dawson, who also goes by Gdan, was a sacred feline cat, a tiger to be specific. And she was gifted to the goddess Parvati from the other gods. So Dawson wasn't technically a goddess, but she served as Parvati's ferocious steed in battle, clawing out enemies, ripping out organs with its fangs, and carried Parvati in her 10 weapons like a horse. Dawson was often represented as Ghatak Bahini, or a lion-tiger hybrid. Now, you may be wondering, is there any truth to the myth? The modern cat breed that we can relate to Dawson is called Toiger. And while Toigers may not be able to fiercely barge in battle and carry you across its back, they can actually be trained to walk on a leash. Number 8. Mofta. Long before Bastet was worshipped, it was Mofta whose name demanded respect and struck fear into people's hearts. We couldn't resist adding one more Egyptian cat deity. Next up is the Egyptian cat goddess Mofta, which means the runner. Mofta is usually depicted with the body of a woman but with the head of a cheetah. Her hair was braided and ended in scorpion tails. Her claws were sharp enough to kill a snake. Mofta, in true brutal cat goddess fashion, used to tear out the hearts of those who have committed wrong deeds and drop them off at the pharaoh's feet. Kind of how like cats bring mice to your doorstep, only more twisted. As we said, Mofta and her cults have been around long before the goddess Bastet. Her name was usually drawn in protection against scorpions, snakes, and other kinds of dangerous animals. The closest thing we have to Mofta is the savanna cat. Savanna cats, spotted just like cheetahs and related to African wildcats, are aggressively protective, just like Mofta once protected its worshippers and pharaohs. Number 7. Mishipeshu. If you look back into North America's ancient history, you'll find that cat gods were prominent there as well. And if you dive deep into the depths of large lakes, one of the most notable cat gods was called Mishipeshu, which was present in Ojibwa legends. The name means great lynx, and it had the appearance of a cougar with horns, and instead of fur, its back and tail were covered in scales. Legend also has it that Mishipeshu's scales and horns were made of pure copper. Now, Mishipeshu was the god cat that was behind turbulent waters, waves, whirlpools, and rapids. Somewhat mischievous, sometimes it was said that Mishipeshu broke the ice under people during the winter. Other than that, he was associated with medicine and protection. Number 6. Pacquat. She who scratches isn't your average domestic cat, though they'll have you believe that. No, the title She Who Scratches was appointed to the lioness goddess of war in Egyptian mythology, Pacquat. Pacquat also went by another title, She Who Opens the Ways of the Stormy Rains, which admittedly sounds a lot more fierce than She Who Scratches. Pacquat wasn't just a protector against vermin and dangerous creatures like some of the usual cat gods. Pacquat was a fierce warrior, a huntress. Alone at night, she wandered the desert looking for prey. Like Bastet, Pacquat was also said to be the protector of motherhood, and like Sekhmet, she was associated with desert storms. In depiction of her, Pacquat was drawn as a feline-headed woman or entirely feline, usually in the process of slaying snakes with her sharp claws. Number 5. Ovinic. Not as powerful as an Egyptian cat dog, but twice as mischievous. Next up, we have Ovinic, the black cat in Polish legends that barked. Depending on your behavior, Ovinic was either a generous deity or a malevolent god. In most cases, farming families used to worship the fiery-eyed Ovinic because he would protect their domestic animals and chase away malevolent ghosts and fairies. However, the moment you, an ancient Poland farmer, ceased to worship Ovinic and give it what it wanted, its mischief could amount to downright harmful results. Legend speaks of Ovinic burning down houses by setting fire to the grain and eating livestock that lived in barns. Number 4. Iapac. The long-forgotten Peruvian god was mega powerful. His name was Iapac, and he was a god of the pre-Inca civilization called the Mochica. The Mochica people put their faith and prayed to a god with a cat-like appearance. Iapac was an old man with cat-like whiskers, fangs, and a wrinkled face with deep lines and sullen eyes. In other times, this ancient cat god, he was a shapeshifter who could transform into a tomcat. He was so powerful that he was declared the most feared god of all punitive gods in the Mochica civilization, as well as the most adored. Number 3. Lishu. Worshipped by farmers, the cat god Lishu is one of the most notable gods in the Chinese Book of Rites. He was the guardian of Chinese families and specialized in protecting the crops from being eaten and destroyed by rats and mice. Farmers would go and leave offerings to Lishu, praying that he would bless their farms. You can actually still see depictions of Lishu all throughout China in thousands of statues. Number 2. Shapeshifters and chariots dragged by cats. Before we get to the all-powerful cat god that's number 1 on our list, we want to mention some other influential cats that saved a few gods' hides several times. Like the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Greeks also worshipped cats, but not because they have a Sekhmet-like deity, but because of Hecate, the goddess of the hunt and witchcraft. When Hecate was trying to escape from Typhon, she transformed into a cat, which saved her life. Ever since then, she called for cats to be revered. Hecate wasn't the only goddess who loved cats. Norse mythology's goddess Freyja is also associated with the furry creatures. Freyja, the goddess of magic, war, divination, wealth, and fertility, used to have her chariot pulled by cats. Cats were so revered in Norse culture that farmers used to leave food offerings for cats in hopes they would be blessed with a good harvest. Number 1. Bastet. We saved the best for last. At number 1 is probably the most famous cat goddess of all, Bastet. Bastet, the goddess of protection, good health, and pleasure, had a lot of roles and influence on ancient Egyptian cultures. When you think of cats as gods and goddesses in mythology and folklore, you may not realize it, but the picture of Bastet is what probably comes to mind. Bastet's usual depiction is of a creature with the body of a woman and the head of a cat. Her earthly form, though, was entirely feline, as in she was a completely average house cat, but just one that was extra majestic. She was often found riding through the sky with her father Ra, the sun god. Her role was to protect and accompany him as he flew across the horizons. And during the nighttime, Bastet would stand guard over Ra as he entered in cat form from his greatest and most dangerous enemy, Apep the serpent. Bastet's other divine duties include being the goddess of perfume and ointment, which may not seem important until you realize those were very important for making mummies. Other than that, she had the very important responsibilities of being Egypt's goddess of warfare. And that's a wrap on our top 10 cat gods in mythology. What did you think of these ancient divinities? Are modern-day cats right to act as majestic as they do now? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're a cat person, don't hesitate to like this video. Make sure you subscribe to Furry Feline Facts, a perfect catalog of cat stats. And click that notification bell to be sure you don't miss out on any of our feline facts. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.